And a question for Dr. Shook.
Hello, Dr. Shook. Thank you for being here. First of all, if there's a God, could be a she, could be a he, just throwing that out there. Okay, so you said right at the very beginning, we're all atheists about thousands of God. You're just one more ahead of the believer. What do you have to say to the argument that was not brought up in this debate that the presence of thousands of gods throughout history, throughout cultures, suggests that there is a God?
Fascinating. This is a variation on the argument from the consent of humanity, as John Stuart Mill might have put it in the last century. In other words, the idea is if, you know, all of humanity or most of humanity agrees on X, who are we now to dispute it? Of course, one major difficulty with just accepting anything that collective humanity currently says is that if that were our procedure, science would have never gotten off the ground and we'd still be living in caves. Human beings have collectively believed a wide variety of bizarre speculations about nature and how nature works, but science has undergone the very hard work, and scientists have consistently been in the minority of human beings on this planet with their advanced new theories, and they suffer terribly for it. They suffer from persecutions in less enlightened countries, still controlled by dogma and priestly authority. They suffer in our own, if we want to call it advanced civilization here nowadays, because, you know, common people complain it's very hard to understand sophisticated things like quantum mechanics and Big Bang cosmology. So the poor suffering scientists, you know. But we do depend on science, and we can't always just accept what humanity happens to agree at a particular point of time. That can put the naturalist in a very difficult position. You might anticipate me. You might say, well, now, didn't you just now, Dr. Shook, claim that we ought to be humanists because many great civilizations and many great world religions have been gradually evolving towards the view, as Dr. Craig so eloquently put it, that human beings all deserve, you know, dignity and intrinsic value? Well, the difference is that when humanity collectively has struggled so far and so long for beliefs that are of immense benefit and practical value to all of humanity, that's, if you will, the sort of pragmatic test, we should have some confidence that we're on the right track. Does belief in the supernatural pass the same test? Do priestly authorities, dogmatic creeds, churches running governments, kings proclaiming divine authority still have practical value for the advancement of civilization? I think the fact that the 20th century has witnessed the march and progress of democracy says no, I don't think we're going back. So we must intelligently winnow out things about which humanity seems to be making progress and things about which humanity has simply been mistaken.
Okay, I have a question from one of the other rooms for Dr. Craig. It relates to a comment I believe that was said there before, which is that if there is a God, why is it the God that is revealed to us by the Bible?
That was the burden of my fourth argument, where I turned to the evidence for the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. I think that the historical credibility of the New Testament records of the life of Jesus of Nazareth, of his radical claims to be the personal revelation of God, his miracles, and especially his resurrection from the dead, cry out for some sort of explanation. And I think that the best explanation is the one that the original disciples gave, namely that he was who he claimed to be and that God raised him from the dead in attestation for those allegedly blasphemous claims for which he was crucified. And it's for that reason that I not only believe in God, but I think that, that God has revealed himself specially in Jesus of Nazareth.
And a question for Dr. Shook, actually a combination of two questions which are very similar. how do you, or how does the atheist in general explain modern-day miracles such as, and these are the ones that are listed, the miracle of Fatima, blind eyes seeing and deaf ears hearing?
Well, I've heard of all of those three things. I cannot possibly claim any expertise on these sorts of phenomena. Down in Texas, I read in the papers over the past few weeks, dozens of eyewitnesses have testified to UFOs, including one of the local police authorities. Well, what do we do with this? Now, naturalism uses a combination of experience, reason, and science to try to decide what is real. Experience alone, personal testimony, should not be trusted without corroboration, checking against what we know to be reasonably true and whether science can provide some alternative explanations. Scientists have been very busily providing naturalistic explanations for a wide variety of types of things, including personal hallucinations, personal insanities and delusions, malfunctioning of the brain, even such things as mass hallucinations, crowd deliriums, sociological phenomenon, like all of a sudden many people coming up with the same story nearly simultaneously. But scientists have been able to offer, if not proven demonstrably, reasonable explanations on purely naturalistic grounds for these phenomena, but there, of course, remains much work to be done. When you have cumulative efforts on the part of scientists to be able to explain so many of these alleged mysteries, the naturalist gains confidence that new mysteries will eventually also be explained by solely naturalistic hypotheses. I would also point out that naturally enough, pun intended, religious believers love and admire mysteries and miracles that pertain to their own faith and are not particularly impressed by the claims of other religions, rival religions, that make similar claims of special miracles that support their rival religious views. There's a clear asymmetry, a clear hypocrisy there. The naturalist stands alone in having the simplest, straightforward, and even-handed explanation of all of these alleged events. You don't need supernaturalism. Thank you.